Welcome to Da Vinci's Discourse, where the minds of today's most innovative entrepreneurs are unveiled and explored. And my name is Kyle Campbell, your guide on this journey into the depths of the entrepreneurial psyche. So sit back, relax, and get ready to dive into the minds of the greats. This is Da Vinci's Discourse.
Who are you, dude?
Great question. The best way to answer it is by me giving you some backstory. I'm originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. When I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran, right? And my late father, God rest his soul, he could see the writing on the wall. And he and my mom, they figured out this wasn't going to be a place to raise a Christian family. So what they did was they made a plan and they executed. And it took a while, right? It wasn't like we're leaving and that was that. But eventually they got us out of Iran and we settled where I now live in Toronto, Canada. And here's the thing. I was 11, right? I didn't want to leave my home, my friends. But looking back, in retrospect, it was the single greatest thing Mom and Dad could have done for me and my two brothers. They took us from a legacy of tyranny to a legacy of freedom. Man, freedom.
Yeah,
and
no shit, dude. Seriously.
Right. Inside every human breast beats the living heart of freedom. Every human being desires to breathe free, to choose their own path, to not be told by an oppressive other, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do, which people have been doing for centuries, right? And so coming to freedom, man, I so appreciate it. It takes an immigrant to truly appreciate, to truly love how great America, Canada, the West have been. And to me, man, this is why men like me, we sound the alarm. We go, yo, these people right now that are coming and saying to you, hey, listen, we need to suppress disinformation. We need to suppress
like with Trudeau, man.
Voices.
It's like they're literally saying that we can't, because I'm Canadian too, brother. They're saying that we're not able to listen to news. They're controlling what comes in.
Yes,
and you know where that leads.
You commie piece of shit. That's
right,
the way
exactly.
I see it, right?
Because you know where that leads, right? You've experienced and you know exactly where that's going. And so you're like, okay, hold the fuck up.
People with guns come to your house and they fucking take your ass away. So we all have to stand up for freedom. Without freedom, bro, you can have no free expression. Without free expression, you cannot have free enterprise. Without free enterprise, what the hell's the point of being an entrepreneur? You can't make your dreams come true, right? So I sound the alarm. Every entrepreneur should go out there and read books written by great thought leaders about freedom. Ayn Rand, The Fountainhead, Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged, Milton Friedman, Capitalism Freedom, Friedrich Hayek, The Road to Serfdom. Every entrepreneur needs to read these books. You need to go read old philosophy books like, John Locke. You need to go read Hobbes. You need to go read Plato and Aristotle. You need to understand the rich heritage that has been given to you. And when you're born here, you forget that. And it takes an immigrant, to show you how precious what you got is.
Wow, dude. It's like, it's like oxygen. We take it for granted what we don't go without, It's like, you don't appreciate the people that are around you until they're gone. That's sort of, it's the exact same thing you're talking about. And you bring up something fascinating, which is the leading into, well, you experienced what it was like. I mean, I guess you were 11, but still, we don't actually understand what we're dealing with, what we have to appreciate until it's not there anymore. What do you say to somebody who is taking for granted what they have in this world in the West and having the freedom that we get to experience here? What do you say to them if they're, apathetic or distrusting or even, lacking appreciation or gratitude for what they have here? What do you say to that individual?
Wake the fuck up. Go visit a country where there's no freedom. Live there for a month. And then you're going to come back here. You're going to kiss sacred Canada's soil. You're going to come off the plane and you're going to go, oh my God, thank God I'm home. Thank God I'm home. You're going to go to Ottawa where the war fighters' memorials are. You're going to look at the men who fought, bled, and died so you live free, and you're gonna pay them homage. You're going to give reverence for how brave these men were that gave you your birthright, what you have. Because I'm telling you, man, if we don't start waking up and appreciating this, it's going to be gone. Gone. Like, listen, I mean, I'm Canadian, you're Canadian, right? Like, this is not, I did not come here to have a political discussion, but if you live in Canada right now and you are like seeing there's going to be an election coming up and you vote for Justin Trudeau and his new fascist party, you are part of the problem. You are part of the problem that's causing freedom in the world to disappear. And all of us need to stand up for freedom, man. All of us need to like fight for freedom. Educate those who are not educated. There's a lot of good people, if they're properly educated, that will do the right thing. And that's what our job is. Educate the people.
So when your family came here, when you were 11, what did they do? What's the story looking like when they came and they were like, okay, so we went from that to this. What were their first steps? And then how did you start to see your life change when you came over?
Well, you know, that's a really, really good question. Actually, when I was 11 was when the revolution took place. We didn't leave, like I said, right away. It took a while for us to be able to make all that happen, right? By the time I got to Canada, I was almost 15.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
I spent 2 years in Europe, in Greece. So at 13, I went to Greece.
Hmm.
So it took us a couple years to get out of Iran, and it took us another couple years to get to Canada eventually. So it was a 4-year journey from the beginning of the stirrings of the Islamic Revolution to us being safely ensconced in the bosom of Canada. But coming here, here's a few things that helped shape me. Like my dad saw things like I did, right? And he was an entrepreneur. He was also a man of the people. He was a humanist. Dad was the kind of dude, Kyle, if he knew you, man, and you were looking for work, he'd say, Kyle, come to the office. He'd sit you down. He'd say, Kyle, I'm going to make a few phone calls. And he'd be on the phone calling all his entrepreneur buddies. And he'd be like persuading, cajoling, browbeating till one of them hired you. Like, that's how it would go. He'd just go, okay, Kyle, we got you a job. If he had a job for you himself, he'd give you one. But if he didn't, he'd get one of his guys to hire you. And then after that, what he'd do is just say, hey man, here's like $50, whatever, get started, Godspeed, right? And then if you were trying to start a business and you came to him, he'd sit you down. He was an experienced businessman. He'd like give you some ideas. You know, he had his MBA too. He'd help you come up with a proper business plan. He'd help you come up with like a funding plan. He'd even get you access to funders, and he'd make introductions to potential clients for you, so you could get business. That's how it was. And if you were trying to buy a car or a house, and let's say you didn't have quite enough money, the bank would only give you so much. And that would happen a fair amount in Iran in those days. Dad would give you a loan to top you up so you could buy it, and you would, and that'd make you happy, but he never let you pay it back. Never. And like people who knew my dad, man, they just would come to me even after his death and they'd say, are you Napoleon Billou's son? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And they say, I want to shake your hand. And I go, why? He says, because you're a son of a good and great man. And I'm like, but I'm just a son of nobody. He goes, no, his blood flows through your veins. Like, this is, for me, it's an honor to meet you. I'm like, oh my God, man, I'm nobody compared to my dad, is the way I thought about it. But that's the kind of reputation he had. And when I was growing up, he'd always be teaching me, he'd always be giving me these spot lessons. He'd say to me things like, son, remember, life is about people. And I go, okay, Dad. And remember, business is about people. It's not about money, people. I go, Dad, what are you talking about? Of course, business is about money. Without money, you can't do no business, Dad. I was pleased as punch. I'm like 8 years old, and I told my dad something. I'm feeling pretty smart and good about myself, and Dad would go, yes, son, that's true, but without people, there's no need for money or business. You see, business is about solving problems for people for a profit. P, 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 and that's the purpose of business, another P. You think about that. You know what I'm saying? The purpose of business is to solve acute problems for amazing people at an awesome profit. And I got that through my dad's teachings. And I became like my father. And my father would always also say to me, son, everybody needs someone to believe in them. Everybody. And he says, I look at my role, Dad would say to me, as being a believer. Not a businessman, but a believer. I believe in people. And he said, there are days where you, me, everybody, we wobble in our faith and belief in ourselves. And it takes someone in your corner who believes in you to remind you who you really are. And when Dad passed away, I took that torch from him. I'm a believer. I believe in people. That's my superpower. That's what I do for work. That's what I do in my business. That's what I do in my life. I'm a believer. I believe in you. I see your greatness. I'm going to pour that belief in you. I'm going to turn it from an ember into a spark, into a roaring fire until you believe in yourself and you never look back, and life is just fantastic for you. That's the way I see it, brother.
Powerful, man. Seriously, super powerful. What I want to go into with you is something psychologically significant about having a father of that gratitude or that gravity. You know, there's a real influence that he had on you, clearly. And what I want to get into is sort of becoming your own father. There's a psychological principle of being able to take the torch, like you said, and be able to step into that role so that you're even, you know, of course it has to happen when the father passes, but before that happens, this, you've got to step into the role of a man, the role of you being your own father before you know, there's a evolution that has to take place. And with you, with that caliber of a dad, what was the process like to be able to say, okay, so this individual is, my dad isn't up here and I'm down here. Where did that equaling out take place so that you could step into that role and be the family, to be the father for your family, for example? What did that process look like for you?
That's a great question. I've never had anybody ask me that question, so I just want to tell you that that's a primo great question. It happened the moment I became a father for the first time. I was married at the time, and my then wife, she was pregnant with our son, and we went to the hospital, and she had a difficult labor with our first son. 33 hours in labor.
Oof.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, I saw the boy come out of her, you know, and it was a surreal, sublime moment. And the moment he came out, and you know, we snipped the umbilical cord. I actually did that. They said, "You want to snip it?" I go, "Yeah." And then I held him for the first time. Instantly, a shift came over me. Because as a single man, my life was all about me, you know. And even as a married man, it was about me and my wife. But it was a very self-centered focus. But the moment my son was in my hands, I held this being in my hands. I realized that my life was no longer just about me and my wife. It was about my son. And all selfishness left me. I wasn't a very selfish man to begin with, but all selfishness left me. And the desire to be the best I could be, to raise this boy into a man, that desire came over me. And that desire transformed me forever. And I say this, you know, one of the thought leaders whose work I follow is the great Tucker Carlson. And Tucker Carlson, he has a new network called TCN, Tucker Carlson Network. I've become a founding subscriber to it. There's a series of segments he does called Ask Tucker, where people send in questions and he'll answer them as he sees fit. And one young man sent him a question saying, "Tucker, I'm a young man trying to make my way in life, and I want to become successful. What advice would you give me about what I need to do to become successful? And he said, that's a great question. And he said, there's a lot of different things many other people would tell you, and those are all valid, but I'm going to tell you something you haven't heard before. The greatest wealth a man can have is to have children.
Hmm.
The greatest wealth a man can have is to have children. And the reason is because your DNA, your lineage will live on when you die through your children. And whoa, dude, that was profound. And I instantly understood the truth of that statement. And I say this to anyone listening here. If you're a man, if you're a woman, have children. Have them early in life. Have them as often as you can. Children are what's going to make your life better and the world a better place. Children are how we're going to win the future away from these forces of darkness, evil, and tyranny.
Wow. There you go. And holy shit. You know, Matthew McConaughey in his book, and it's funny to take it to Matthew McConaughey after that, but there's something that he wrote which I found interesting is when he became a father, his creativity spiked. He knew what moves to make and how to make them because of that lineage that was produced. You know, the mustard seed that had become, if you want to speak in Christian terms, you know, so it's like there's something there. Now, I'm not personally a father yet, you know, so I'm not there yet. But what I'm wondering is how can somebody facilitate that same transformation? How do you think, what answers come to mind without actually becoming a father, literally in the real sense, DNA
I
wise?
honestly don't know that you can. I'm being straight.
Interesting. Okay, okay.
I don't know that you can. It's like asking somebody, how do you experience sex without actually having sex? And I don't know that you can. You gotta have sex, right? If
Yeah.
you want to be a father, if you want the father energy, become a father. And I say this to you, I don't know if you have a woman in your life right now that you are with or not. If you do, and she's potentially the one, then I suggest you get very serious about discovering if she is the one. And if she's actually the one, then God damn it, marry the woman and make an honest woman out of her and take her to bed and start producing some kids. That's what I'm going to tell you. It'll be good for her. It'll be good for you. And if you don't have a woman in your life, focus on your success, make money, because that's what you need to do. Become the best version of you. Take care of yourself physically, be healthy, and then go attract a good woman. You know, I run a men's organization. I have a men's podcast. If you or other men are interested in listening to an older man like me, I'm 56 with some life experience and figuring out what to do in order to have your life work, go check out the Sovereign Man podcast. Sovereignman.ca is our website. You can come out to one of our group meetings and see what we're all about. But I say to you, brother, you will be so happy with a beautiful, great woman by your side, pregnant, carrying your child. And you will be even happier when that child comes forth from her body into the world and you hold your child. Man, that's good. It's good.
Mm. You're a lucky man, dude. You know, the way you talk about your family, for example, your wife. I mean, there's a lot of people that hold resentment for their wife, you know. You don't have that. It's interesting. You know, the way that I was brought up is very different from the way that you were brought up. It wasn't necessarily about family. It wasn't, there was no religion even. There was a lot of tension, a lot of separation. And so it's fascinating for me to hear your viewpoint of it because it's so easy to fall into you see it all over the place, especially if you look at like the Hollywood magazines, like all of these people having issues with their relationships. And you're on the opposite end of that. And you're saying, no, this is the most beautiful thing that you can have in this world. It's about the people, it's about the connection that you can generate. And you've been able to do that, man. So huge props for that. Let's get into the what you do for a living aspect of things. The next question that comes to mind is if somebody were to ask you what you do, what would you tell them? And I love how it's different from who you are because there's a major differentiation that needs to take place there, I think. So what do you do, man, if somebody were to ask you that?
Well, that's a great question.
You
My
always say
answer,
that's a great question, man. All right, let's get
it
into
is. It
it.
is a great question. The way you ask it is very thoughtful. So I want you to know that I noticed that and I appreciate that
Wow.
very, very much.
Hmm.
Because there are folks who ask questions that are rote,
Yeah,
robotic, not
yeah.
very interesting, not very original. So when I'm here in the presence of a master interviewer, I acknowledge the mastery, because it's something that I want to encourage you to do more of, because you're good at it. So please understand where I'm coming from. So that the way that I approach my work is really the way that I approach my life. My father had said to me, life is about people, believe in people, love on people. And he said that for him, all business was personal. There was no business and then personal. And he always would say to me, son, that man in front of you, that is someone's father, that is someone's son, that is someone's brother, that is someone's husband. That is a hero to somebody. And that person may have had an interaction in business with someone just like you who ripped them off. And so your job is to show them that you're a good person, that you care, and you're going to do the right thing by them. You're going to restore faith in humanity to them, and you're going to believe in them. So I look at my role in business, because I'm all about helping entrepreneurs win, growing their businesses. The main problem I solve for entrepreneurs is entrepreneurs who are stuck at a level in their business and they want to grow, who are not experiencing the growth that they want. They're not making the money they want to make. They're not having the impact they want to have. They don't feel good about themselves. You know, it may be causing financial stress on their family, may be causing them not to be able to sleep well. It may be preventing them from working out and taking care of their health. It may be preventing them from doing things for the people they love the most because they don't have the funds. They can't take them on that family vacation that they've always dreamed of taking them to. They can't buy the family home, the dream home. They can't buy themselves that beautiful Armani suit. You know, they can't. The problem I solve for those people is I make it possible for them to earn the money, bring in the clients, fulfill their mission, and be able to use that money to take care of the people that they love, to feel free again, to be able to sleep soundly at night, to be able to take care of the dreams the family has, like the dream home, the dream vacation, and all that good stuff. That's what I do. And the way that I do it is by believing in people, by loving on people. I look for good people who are in business, who have great intentions. Their morals and ethics are the very best, and they want to make a difference in this world. I look for those people, and they're looking for someone like me who's going to show them how to win, because they haven't been winning. They haven't been winning. So I'll tell you a personal story, and then I'll tell you a story of a client of mine. A little over a year ago, I was overweight. I used to be a top fitness trainer, and then I stopped that, and over about a dozen years, I gained 50 plus pounds. I got disgusted with myself, and I found somebody to help me. And this person had a track record of helping people my age, putting them on bodybuilding stages. So I started working with this fellow, and within 6 months, I went from 227 to 169, a 58-pound drop. Damn, bro, that was awesome. And it made me see something, that I needed someone to believe in me and someone to show me that I could win, because I'd stopped believing I could win. And this is the question I'm asking you. Have you stopped believing you can win?
I think as an entrepreneur, we never stop believing, baby. I mean, like, there'll be ups and downs, but there's always that knowledge in the back of your mind that there's going to be that win, regardless of what happens to you that you can't control. So the answer is hell no, dude. Never stop believing.
Say that. There's a lot of entrepreneurs who will say that in public, but in private, they feel that they're not going to win. And my job is to break through that fear. And I do it with a number of different really powerful strategies. A lot of people in particular are scared about sales and marketing. They don't want to be seen as pushy. They don't want to be seen as salesy. They don't want to reek of commission breath. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they don't go after business they should go after. They don't make the calls, right? They don't ask for the sale. And what happens? Well, they don't get the sale. Their business suffers. They suffer. The client suffers because a good person who could have helped them doesn't help them. And then some charlatan marketer comes in and scoops up that business They don't care whether they deliver or not. Guess what happens then, Kyle? Everybody loses. The client loses. The problem doesn't get solved. You lose. You don't get business. You don't get fulfillment. Even the charlatan loses because what goes around comes around. The sum total of goodness in the world goes down.
Yeah.
So I sit with people, help them reframe sales to service.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the podcast, and I want to let you know that I've got a free book that you can get if you want to tap into more of these resources. And you can get that for free at kylesbook.com. Back to the podcast.
Right? No one wants to be sold. Kyle, you don't want to be sold. I don't want to be sold. But I love being served by a good human being, a caring advocate. Don't you? Everybody does, right? So I teach people to reframe that, and then I teach them to go and serve. You are not allowed to use that as an excuse to say, I'm never going to pick up a phone. And just by doing this, I've helped people double, triple, quadruple, tenfold their business. And I had this one lady. She was a naturopathic doctor, functional medicine. She did well, 100,000 a year in sales, 120,000 a year in sales. But she's going through a rough time in life. Her father had brain cancer, glioblastoma. She was daddy's girl. And then he died. And she wanted to honor his memory by becoming a successful entrepreneur. She says, I got to become $1 million a year earner to honor my dad. Can you help me? I said, yes. We sat with her and she said, well, I don't want to be seen as pushy. I don't want to be seen, this is not what we do in my business. We don't call people. Doctors put layers between them and making calls. And I said to her, but do you love serving people? She goes, oh God, I love serving people. I said, do you realize that if you don't call some of these people, they're not going to be served. They're going to continue to suffer. And she said, oh, no, I can't have that. That alone made her start to reach out to people. And in her first year, she doubled her business. Now, here's the other thing. She also had a very, very loosey-goosey message. When I asked her what she did, she says, I can help anybody with any health problem. And I said, that's not going to work. We need to dial that in a little more. She says, well, how do we do that? And we took her through an exercise. What are the types of clients you've worked with? Who are the ones that you have gotten the best results for? Make a list. She did. Who are the ones that you've enjoyed working with the most? She made a list of those. Who are the ones that were easiest to transact with, i.e. they paid in time, in full, no issues, no nickel and dimers? She made a list of those. Where all three of those circles intersected, that was her ideal client. And she found out that her ideal client was a married woman with children, with a successful marriage, a successful career. But she felt ugly. She felt fat. She felt like she was never going to be that beautiful woman that she'd once been ever again. Now, Kyle, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but generally, I've observed in my 56 years of living that women like feeling and looking beautiful. They hate not being beautiful. They hate not being seen as beautiful. It bothers them at a soul and heart level. So, wonderful Dr. Vicky, I'll call her, she said, getting older is inevitable, but aging isn't. And you can be just as beautiful and sexy in your 50s, 60s, and 70s, and even 80s as you were in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. So, brother, that message landed. We called it Get Your Sexy Back.
Ah, nice. I like that. Oh, interesting. So I like it, dude. I want to touch on that.
Let me tell you what happened when she got
What
this.
happened? Okay.
She doubled her income again, and then she doubled it again. Within 3 years, she went from 6 figures a year to 6 figures a month, brother.
Wow.
A month.
Shit. Huh.
Boom.
Huh.
The power of serving, not selling.
Right.
Taking the attention off you and putting the attention on the other person, because you're all thinking about yourself if you're worried about whether you're pushy or salesy. And if you know you're not that and you put the attention on helping people, serving people, that's important. And the power of a clear, concise message aimed at a clear, concise group of people that have a specific debilitating problem that they can't solve on their own.
Brother, what you just gave was a masterclass in marketing and perception of how you're doing in business. I mean, like, we struggle with that, right? It's like a lot of people would have a hesitancy when it comes to selling, pushing something on somebody. I mean, me personally, I don't struggle with it. I love it because I look at it the same way you do. This is an opportunity to change somebody's fucking life right now. And if I don't make this sale, if I'm not certain about it, they're not going to have that same certainty rub off on them. And then they're going to miss out on what I have to offer them. And I don't let that happen because it fucking pisses me off more than anything. If I've got something that can help somebody and they don't see it, if I can't get them to really see what I have for them, then they I had it happen almost happened the other day. This guy was going into bankruptcy. He no money on his credit cards, absolutely zero. He was $1 million in debt because his business was failing. And I said, man, I've got something that if we just plugged you into this fucking system right here, this would work for you. And I said, I'll do it for free because I want a percentage on the sales that I make for you as we move forward. Just cover my costs for it. He scraped up every penny that he had. He had to tell one of his employees that he couldn't make payroll this month because he was investing in this. That's how certain I was that I could deliver these results for him. The campaign's running right now. He's already been able to make that money back to pay that individual. So 3 or 4 days ago, the payroll was on April 1st. So the individual still, which is it's March 27th right now. So the person still gets their payroll because I was able to generate instant income for them. And if I wasn't able to get that certainty across for him to have to tell that employee that he's going to have to wait for his pay, then he wouldn't have had the massive spike in business that he's experiencing right now. And so there comes from this core of belief, and that unleashes this monster of persuasion that you can use for the beneficial result of who you're serving, who you're talking with. And then look what happens. That individual gets to go serve more people because their service is getting out there. And then those people have a good experience with what he gives them. And then it cascades. And if you really look at the macro of that, it cascades through generations, which is very powerful. Exciting is all how the domino effect kicks in. So what would you tell somebody if they were struggling with viewing their product in a way that wasn't empowered, they weren't able to communicate the value to others, or if they were timid about selling because they don't have that true core belief that what they're doing is going to change this individual's life, even if they have something that is genuinely a good product or service, but they're not able to convey that because they don't have this belief? How would you walk them through reframing that so they can have that power?
Number one, man, is you got to take the attention off of you and you got to put the attention on them.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about you and your product and your whatever, it's not a good place for you to be. You're gonna start to doubt yourself, right? I wonder if they're gonna like me. Are they gonna like me? Are they gonna believe in me? Are they gonna want to do this? Oh man, I need this sale really badly, or I'm not gonna be able to make my mortgage. No. You don't want those kinds of thoughts, that kind of energy. But what if instead of that you said, wow, I wonder how long this person's been suffering.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they've lost faith and hope that they can really change it. I wonder if they've been praying for a miracle. And I wonder if today's the day that God is making me an instrument of his will to provide a miracle for this person.
Wow.
Man, those questions take all the attention off of you and put the attention on the other person. And you look, Dr. Vicky that I just talked about, that was her. That was her. Now I'll tell you a story about another fellow. Okay, his name was Chris. He had an acupuncture clinic in Manhattan. Pretty special man. Really ridiculous skills and qualities. He did well, but he was struggling to grow. He made like $150,000 a year, but he was in Manhattan. That's not that much money. And he told me, I really need to make $1 million a year to have a thriving business. I said, okay, $1 million a year. Let's figure it out. I looked at his whole business. Everything about his business was good, except for one thing. He undervalued himself. He charged way too little for what he.
Common, man. Yeah, no shit.
So I say, Chris, bro, you need to raise your prices. He said, why? I said, well, first of all, you're in Manhattan. You got some really high-end clientele, and you're charging like you live in Topeka, Kansas. These people, they expect to pay more. They value it when they pay more.
Yeah.
And you're not charging enough. And he said, okay, so what do you want me to do? Raise my prices 10%. I said, 10%, dude, come on, that's a joke, right? He said, what, 20? And I said, are you kidding me? He said, what, you mean 30%? I said, no, man, you need to raise your prices 20 times. He had a fit. He had a shit fit. Are you out of your fucking mind? I can't do that. No one's going to pay it. He was hyperventilating, dude. I said, man, Chris, relax, chill, bro. And he wouldn't do it 20 times, but I managed to convince him to raise it 7 times. So here's what happened, okay? His business fucking blew up. He didn't do anything else differently. It's just his prices were 7-fold higher. All his clients started coming more and started bringing their friends. Now, he had a very famous actor as a client. I can't mention the actor's name, but it rhymes with Dobert Manero.
Damn.
I can't mention his name.
I can't. No. Hell no.
But again, it rhymes with Dobert Manero.
Great.
And this fellow whose name rhymes with Dobert Manero said, about time you raised your fucking prices. My friends here, I love you, but man, they'd think I'm playing a joke on them. And brother, owning that value took him from making 150,000 a year, and in 4 months, not over a course of a year, in 4 months, he made another $1,050,000 in 4 fucking months. Now imagine if he'd really listened to me and raised his prices 20-fold, what could have happened? But brother, that changed his world. It changed his life. It changed his family's trajectory. He bought a proper house for his wife and daughter. He had another child. His belief in himself went to a new level. I believed in him, and my belief lit a fire of belief in him. And I want to make this point again. No matter who you are, you need someone to believe in you.
It's uncommon, man, to have somebody who really believes in you, which is sad, but it's true in this world. You know, Dr. Jordan Peterson talks about the fact that when he tells somebody that he believes in them, he's from Toronto too, right? Tells somebody that, yeah, no shit, me too, man. And when he tells somebody that he believes in them, he realizes that they've never had a single individual tell them and really mean it in their entire life that they believe in them. So what do you say to somebody who doesn't have somebody like that really believes in them, that their friends secretly hope that they fail so that they are not lower than them? You know, it's so common, and especially for entrepreneurs who are misunderstood. You know, there's a lack of connection because it's hard to find other people like us to connect with at that level. What do you say to somebody who doesn't have that person that believes in them?
Once again, a fucking great question. And I can answer that question succinctly and powerfully. You asked me, what do I do professionally? And my answer to you was, I'm a professional believer. If you need someone to believe in you, go to my website, ecircleacademy.com/appointment, or there's a button that says book a success call. Click on that button. It's a free call. You don't have to pay for the call. Fill in your information. Tell me you came from Kyle's show and say, hey man, I need you to believe in me. And I'll believe in you because I believe in the promise that God has put in every human being. I'm a professional believer, and I will believe in you. And in that hour, I will show you how powerful that belief can be in turning your world around. Because everyone needs that. Kyle, you need that, and I need that. I got a dude who believes in me. He is my business advisor, my coach, my mentor. And I pay him good money to help me in the moments when I wobble. And I'm telling you, I am not arrogant enough to think I don't need that. Nor is he. He's got that. The best athletes in the world have people that believe in them when their own belief in themselves wobbles. The most successful people in the world have that. Why wouldn't you? The most important investment you can make in yourself, Kyle, is an investment that understands that you need to become better. If you're an entrepreneur, the qualities of success are thus: you need to be decisive and committed. You have to say, I will win. I am going for victory. I am willing to suck before I'm average, before I'm good, before I'm great. That's number one. And number two, you have got to be coachable, and you have got to believe in and invest in the biggest, most important asset in your business, you. You've got to hire coaches, join masterminds, do courses, go to conferences, buy and read books. Over the last 10 years, I've invested close to $1 million in myself. It has paid off fivefold. Do you understand? You've got to do the same. You must. And then you've got to be resourceful, because you've got to come up with the time, energy, and money to invest whatever it takes to make your commitments and dreams come alive.
It's hard, man, because the entrepreneur is inertly, inherently independent. We crave doing things and being able to have this it's independence, whereas opposed to an employee who needs to have somebody telling them what to do. So it's difficult to find that balance between the two, where you're still having the independent thought, you're being creative, and you're crafting your own destiny, while also needing, and I believe that we do need some external validation, especially when there is a low. Where do you draw the line between the balance of having the independence and the ability to believe in yourself, but also having the gift of drawing on somebody else's belief when you don't have it in you? How do you look at that lifestyle balance between those two?
Interesting question. I don't think it's either or. I think
Right.
you need both.
Well, of course.
I'll bring you a sports analogy to you. We're both Canadian. Who's the greatest hockey player of all time?
Gretzky, baby.
Gretzky, baby, right? Do you think Gretzky did all this with no outside influences?
No.
Gretzky had coaches every step of the way. His first coach was his dad, Walter.
Yeah.
Walter froze the backyard, said, go ahead, Wayne, skate. Do this, do that. And then he had coaches in, single A and double A, and then in the WHA and the NHL. He had Glenn Sather. Glenn Sather didn't just say, okay, Wayne, do your thing. He said, Wayne, we need you to do this, this, and this. And Wayne listened. You need to draw a distinction between, you're an entrepreneur. You're not anybody's employee. You're nobody's bitch. But you need people to advise you. Everyone needs advisors. Everyone. If you put a baby by himself when he's born on the floor and said, okay, figure it out, kid, are you nuts? It ain't going to work. Maybe you're not a baby anymore, but your need for advice only dies when you die. And if you're an entrepreneur and you are arrogant enough to think that, oh no, I have to be independent, I have to do everything myself, you're going to crash and burn. There's only so high you're ever going to go. But if you're able to humble yourself and say, there's a lot I don't know and I need help, and I'm willing to ask for help and get help, then you're going to do great. You're going to do great. The greatest entrepreneur of our era is Elon Musk. He's the richest man in the world. He's the most successful man in the world. There's no question about it, okay? Elon Musk has had mentors, advisors, and peers with him every step of the way in his career. I just read the book about his life that Walter Isaacson wrote. This is the story of a man who knows his own mind, charts his own path, but asks for help and gets it every step of the way.
What comes to mind, and I agree with that, but what comes to mind is the story about the guru with the butterfly. And so a little boy comes up with a cocoon and asks the guru, okay, so can I help this cocoon blossom into a butterfly when it comes up? And the guru says, no, you have to let it struggle. You have to let it fight its way out so that it can gain the strength of coming out of the cocoon. So the little boy says, okay, goes back, and the butterfly starts to come out of the cocoon one day. And he looks at it and he says, oh, I have to help it. And he opens the cocoon for the butterfly. Butterfly flies up, and falls to his death because it didn't gain that strength that it needed to be able to survive in the world. And so there is an interesting balance that needs to be taking place here where it's not overly relying on other people to build your strength for you to make sure that you get out of that cocoon safely, because then you don't have the strength and the pain that it took to get through something yourself. So do you see what I'm trying to get at? There's a balance that needs to take place between going through the pain and the struggle
Yeah.
yourself and also having these external belief systems that can pull you out when if need be. But you know what I mean is there's power in failure. I've
That's
learned
it.
more from failure than I have from success. And if I had somebody that pulled me out of that, then I wouldn't have been able to grow.
Everybody learns more from failure than success. But here's a misconception a lot of people have with advisors, coaches, mentors. They're not there to do the work for you.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
there to
yeah.
advise you. It's like having a personal trainer in the gym. They're not going to freaking lift the weight for you, man. You got to lift the weight yourself, bro.
Yeah.
But he's going to look at you. He's going to look at your form. When you stop at 10, he's going to make you do 3 or 4 more than you thought you could do. And that's where all the growth happens. That's where all the growth happens. But this is a common misconception that a lot of people have. I've had a lot of people sign up for our programs and go, okay, I signed up. And I go, okay, great. The hard work begins now.
Starts, yeah.
Now it starts. If you're not ready to do the hard work, you're going to fail. We had that conversation with about a half a dozen of our clients yesterday to say, look, you guys are coming on the calls and you're smiling and nodding, and then you're not doing the work in between. You're not calling people. You're not setting up appointments. You're just feeling better in each of the calls. And that's not the purpose of our program. The purpose of our program is to help you get additional sales. And for you to get additional sales, when we say go out there and book some appointments, you need to go out there and book some appointments. And if you're having trouble and you need help, then call us by all means and we'll help you overcome whatever mental barrier you have. But I'm not going to book the appointments for you. That's your job. That's your job. And that's a fact. At the end of the day, in my estimation, if you don't believe in investing in yourself, your business is going to die eventually. If you don't believe in getting help, your business is going to die. Or you're going to stay at a really mediocre level for the rest of your life. And who the hell wants that? Who the hell wants that? If you're not willing to work hard, your business is not going to succeed or thrive. I'm all about people winning, but I don't want you, if you're not coachable, get away from me. I ain't interested. If you're not willing to do the work, get away from me. I ain't interested. That's it.
What are some personality traits you've noticed? And I'm wondering how we can go about developing these. So in all your successful clients that you've had, the most successful ones, what are some personality traits that you've found or they all have in common? The center of the circle of all of their personalities, what's the one thing that you find that an individual can't succeed without? I would say persistence. I mean, you got to go through the pains to be able to reach what you need to be able to get to, right? So what's the one thing in the middle of all the circles of psyches that you've been able to identify, and how can we develop that?
A desire to win, man. A desire to win. You got to be there. A decisiveness to take action, a commitment to do whatever it takes until you win. And then you got to be coachable. That's 100%. And you got to be resourceful. And I'll just tell you this last story to wrap up. Several years ago, my then wife decided she didn't want to be married to me anymore. And it was devastating to me. I spiraled. I didn't understand why, and I was very upset, and I was in a poor me state, a victim mentality state. A friend of mine did me a favor and bought me a ticket to a conference. I saw a man deliver a speech. His name was Bill. And the speech spoke to me. It resonated with my soul. And I said to myself when he was done, I got to go talk to him. So I just elbowed my way to the front of the stage. And I said, hey, Bill, I'm Nicky. Let me tell you my story. And I told him my story. And then I said to him with a lot of hesitation, I think I need to hire you. He looked me up and down and said, okay, but here's the deal. My minimum fee is $5,000 for 5 hours of my time. I require payment in full upfront in advance. You still want to hire me, kid? And I just looked at him and I said, I don't have $5,000. I hadn't worked in like 10 months. I was broke. He said, okay, I'll give you some free coaching. I said, free coaching? Now you're talking my language. I love it. Free coaching, give it to me. He said, it doesn't matter how much money you have. And I said, what up? Hold up, hold up, hold up. You just said you want $5,000 from me. Of course it matters how much money I have. He said, kid, I got 20 people lined up to work with me. They're going to pay me 5,000 as a minimum fee. There's people who are going to pay me 10, 20, 50, even 100,000. I don't need your lousy $5,000. I'm like, oh shit. You need me though. So I shut my mouth from then on and just listened. He said, doesn't matter how much money you have. What matters is, how bad do you want change? You just finished telling me that your wife kicked you to the curb. You're sleeping on your mother's couch. You have no money. You haven't seen your kids in months. How bad do you want change? You know, are you ready to take action, or do you want to stay stuck where you are for another day, another week, another month, another year, a lifetime? I'm like, yo, no. So I said, give me a couple days. And I made an appointment to see him in 2 days at his office. His office happened to be very close to my home. And I called some clients. I was a fitness trainer back then. And I said to them, hey, guys, I've got great news. They said, what is it? I said, look, we have a meeting of the minds happening here. You're fat and you need to lose weight, or you're going to get diabetes, stroke. It's going to be bad. I go, yeah, you're right. I'm broke. And in order to be allowed to see my sons, I need money. So I'm going to give you the deal of a lifetime. I'm going to give you half price for the program I quoted you. But here's the catch. If you're in now. This deal expires as soon as I hang up the phone. And if you're in now, you pay me now. 2 guys said, yeah. They gave me $1,000 each. This was, God, 12 years ago or so. I was over the moon. First money I had made in almost a year. Went to see this fellow, Bill, pleased as punch, and gave him $2,000. Smiling like, see? And he said, oh, this is great. He said, but I said 5, not 2. My heart fell. And I said, Bill, how many people have you told this story you told me to over the years? He said, over the years, probably 30 or 40. I said, wow, that's a lot of people. He goes, yeah. I said, besides me, who else ever came back to you with any money? He said, oh. He got a little embarrassed. He said, actually, you're the first. I said, oh.
No shit.
I said, okay, well then, here's what I want you to do, Bill. Take my money, and we're going to write out an agreement saying that I'm going to pay you the rest within 30, 60 days, whatever the case may be. And he agreed. He agreed. He saw that the $2,000 was a show of good faith. And anyways, that was the turning point for me, because within 30 days, I paid him back early. And within less than 6 months, I made over $100,000.
Wow.
It was an incredible transformation in my journey. And the question I want to leave you and your audience with is, how bad do you want change? Are you willing to stay stuck where you are for another day, another week, another month, another year, or a lifetime? Or are you done with all that, and are you ready for change?
Beautiful, man. There's these rock bottom moments that you're talking about where everything needs to change. Otherwise, just you cannot go on like that anymore. Happened to me like 8 months ago, man. Same exact thing. I know we got to kick it off here, but same exact thing. And this is why I asked the butterfly question with this guru and the butterfly, because I called my mentor and I said, dude, I'm in a fucked situation right now. Something bad just happened. I need to make $6,000 within 8 days. Otherwise, I'm homeless and winter's coming. And he said, essentially that I was on my own, that I had to figure this out. And so I did. And within 8 days, I made that $6,000. Within the last 6 months, I've made $250,000 profit as a result of being at the bare minimum fucking bottom that I could possibly be, verging on home. I mean, so you could have went lower, but I fought my way out of it, man. And it was that rock bottom moment that made me make that change. And there's something to that, dude. So, man, I had an absolute pleasure talking with you, man. Seriously. What else do you have to leave us with before we kick this off? Beautiful story.
Thank you. If you're listening to this and you want change and you want it bad, and if you want to have a call, just go to ecircleacademy.com/appointment. Let's talk.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that podcast episode. And if you want to get a free copy of my book, go to kylesbook.com and you can get a copy there. I'll talk with you soon.